My name is Elena, and I'm 28 years old. I learned something painful this year. The person who knows you best can also destroy you most efficiently, because they know exactly where to aim. My brother Marcus proved that with a single phone call. What he didn't know was that I had been watching, listening, and preparing for months. This is the story of how silence became my sharpest weapon. It started on a Tuesday morning in March. I was sitting in my car outside Riverside Technologies, sipping lukewarm coffee and mentally rehearsing my first day. After 6 months of searching, I had finally landed a marketing coordinator position. The salary wasn't huge, but it was mine. A clean start. I was adjusting my rearview mirror when my phone buzzed. HR. That was strange. I wasn't supposed to check in until 9. Elena? This is Margaret from Human Resources. Could you come up to the office before you start? Just a quick conversation. Her tone was careful, too careful. My stomach dropped even before I understood why. I walked through the glass doors, feeling like I was moving underwater. The receptionist wouldn't look at me. Margaret met me in a small conference room, not the bright onboarding space I had visited during interviews. There was a man with her. Older, serious face. He introduced himself as the director of operations. Margaret cleared her throat. Elena, something came up during our final reference verification. We received concerning information about your character and reliability. I felt my face go hot. What information? From who? She exchanged a glance with the director. We're not obligated to disclose specific sources, but the concerns were serious enough that we need to reconsider your employment. Reconsider? My voice cracked. I start today. You already hired me. The director leaned forward. We're terminating the offer, effective immediately. We'll compensate you for today, but we can't move forward. I'm sorry. I wasn't crying yet. I was too confused. Can you at least tell me what I'm accused of? Margaret hesitated. Then she said quietly, dishonesty, instability. The reference described you as someone who couldn't be trusted in professional environments. Someone who creates conflict. My hands went cold. Who said that? She looked down at her folder. A family member, your brother. The room tilted. I heard the words, but they didn't connect to reality. Marcus. My brother Marcus had called my employer and sabotaged me. I opened my mouth. But nothing came out. What could I say? That my brother was lying? It would sound desperate, defensive, exactly like someone who was dishonest and unstable. The director stood up. We'll have security escort you out. Again, we're sorry, but we have to protect the company. I walked through that lobby in a fog, past coworkers I would never meet, carrying a coffee I would never finish. Security stayed 5 feet behind me until I reached my car. I sat there for 20 minutes, staring at nothing. Then I drove home and lay on my couch, staring at the ceiling, trying to understand what had just happened. Marcus called me that evening. His voice was light, casual. Hey, Ellie, how was your first day? I couldn't speak. I was shaking. Elena? You there? Why? My voice came out as a whisper. Why would you do that? Silence. Then, carefully, do what? You called my job. You told them I couldn't be trusted. A pause. I could hear him breathing. I did what I thought was necessary. Necessary? I was sitting up now, gripping the phone. You got me fired, Marcus. I hadn't even started. Why would you? Because you were getting too confident, he interrupted. His tone had shifted. Colder. You were moving too fast, making decisions without asking anyone. Someone needed to slow you down before you embarrassed the family. Embarrassed the family? I got a job, Marcus, a normal job. At a company where I have connections, he said sharply. Where people know our name. You think I'm going to let you walk in there unprepared and screw up? I was protecting you. Protecting me? I almost laughed. You destroyed me. No, he said, and his voice went soft again. Almost kind. I reminded you that you're not as independent as you think. You're welcome. He hung up. I sat there holding the phone, replaying his words. The scariest part wasn't his anger, it was his calm. He genuinely believed he had done the right thing, that he had the authority to control my life. And suddenly, I remembered something else. 3 weeks earlier, I had been offered an interview at a tech startup. Excited, promising opportunity. The recruiter had been enthusiastic during our first call. Then nothing, no follow-up, no rejection email. Just silence. At the time, I thought I had said something wrong. Now I wondered if Marcus had reached them too. I pulled up my email and searched for rejections. 4 companies in the past 2 months had gone silent after initial interest. One had sent a generic, "We've decided to move in another direction" message right after their reference check stage. I had thought it was normal job search frustration. Now every rejection felt like a crime scene I hadn't noticed. I opened my text thread with Marcus. I scrolled back through months of messages, reading them differently now. 2 months ago, he had texted, "Heard you're applying around. Be careful, people talk. Reputation is everything." I had responded with a thumbs-up emoji, thinking he was being protective. Now I saw it for what it was. A threat. Further back, after I mentioned landing an interview at a consulting firm, "That's ambitious. Hope you know what you're doing. Those places do deep background checks." And after I posted on social media about career goals, "Maybe keep job stuff private? You never know who's watching." He had been telling me the whole time. I just hadn't been listening. That night, I called my parents. My mother answered, sounding distracted. I could hear the TV in the background. "Mom, I need to talk to you about Marcus." "What about him?" "He called my employer and told them I was unreliable. I lost the job." A pause. "Well, honey, Marcus wouldn't do that without reason." My chest tightened. "Without reason?" "Mom, I hadn't even started working there. What reason could—" "Marcus is looking out for you," she interrupted gently. "He's older. He understands how professional environments work. If he felt the job wasn't right for you, he probably had good instincts." "He didn't say the job wasn't right," I said slowly. "He said I wasn't trustworthy." "Elena, don't twist his words. You know your brother loves you." My father's voice came from the background. "What's going on?" My mother covered the phone, but I could hear her muffled explanation. Then my father's voice, clearer now. "If Marcus had concerns, he was right to voice them. That's what family does." "He destroyed my reputation," I said louder. "He lied to my employer." "You must have done something to make him feel that was necessary," my father replied. "Marcus doesn't act without cause. Maybe look at your own behavior instead of blaming him." I closed my eyes. "So you're taking his side." "There are no sides, Elena. There's just family. And right now, you sound paranoid." I hung up before I said something I'd regret. But the damage was done. My own parents had chosen to believe Marcus without even asking for my version. In their eyes, I was the problem. The difficult one. The one who needed to be controlled. That was the moment I stopped trying to defend myself. Because I realized something important. If I kept reacting emotionally, I would always lose. Marcus was good at making himself sound reasonable. He spoke calmly, logically, like someone concerned. Meanwhile, I sounded frantic and accusatory. The more I protested, the more I confirmed his narrative that I was unstable. So I went quiet. For the next 2 weeks, I didn't confront Marcus. I didn't argue with my parents. I applied to jobs, went through interviews, and kept my head down. But I was also watching, listening, documenting. Every rejection email got saved in a folder. Every odd silence from a recruiter got noted with dates. And I started paying attention to Marcus differently. At family dinners, I noticed how he steered conversations, how he positioned himself as the responsible one, the one who had everything together. He would make subtle comments about me. "Elena's still figuring things out," he'd say with a sympathetic smile. "It's hard out there. Not everyone's cut out for corporate life." My mother would nod. My father would agree. And I would sit there, silent, letting them think I was broken. But I wasn't broken. I was recording. Not literally, not yet. but mentally. I was cataloging every remark, every dismissive comment, every time he spoke about my life like it was his property. I was learning his patterns, where he was careless, where he got overconfident. Then, one evening at my parents' house, Marcus made a mistake. It was a Sunday dinner. My Aunt Karen was visiting. She was my father's older sister, sharp-eyed, like no nonsense. She had always been kind to me in a quiet, observant way. During dessert, Marcus got a phone call and stepped onto the back porch. He left the sliding door slightly open. I was clearing plates in the kitchen when I heard his voice drift through. "Yeah, I handled it," he was saying. "She won't be an issue anymore. Trust me, I made sure the right people heard the right things." I froze, plate in hand. "She's my sister, but she's reckless," he continued. "Someone had to step in before she damaged the family name. People listen to me, I have credibility, she doesn't." He laughed then, a short, satisfied sound. "She'll figure it out eventually, that she needs to stay in her lane." I set the plate down carefully and pulled out my phone. Opened the voice memo app, hit record. Then I walked slowly toward the porch door. She holding the phone low, letting his voice come through clearly. "No, my parents get it," he was saying. "They know I'm protecting her. She'll calm down, probably come crawling back apologizing. That's how it always goes." I stood there for another minute, recording. Then I slipped back into the kitchen. My hands were trembling, but not from fear. From clarity. I had him. After dinner, Aunt Karen found me loading the dishwasher. She closed the kitchen door quietly. "You okay, sweetheart?" I looked up. "Why do you ask?" "Because you've been different lately," she said gently. "Quieter. And I saw you by the porch door earlier." I hesitated. Then I made a decision. I pulled out my phone, opened the voice memo, and played it for her. Her face didn't change while she listened. When it finished, she just nodded slowly. How long has this been happening?" "I don't know. Months, maybe longer. I just started noticing." She leaned against the counter. "Marcus has always been controlling, even when he was young. He needs to be the center, the authority. I've watched him do it to friends, girlfriends. I was wondering when he'd turn it on you." My throat tightened. "You knew?" "I suspected. But it wasn't my place to interfere." She looked at me directly. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know," I admitted. "Confronting him doesn't work. My parents won't believe me." Aunt Karen was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Don't confront him. Not yet. Keep recording. Document everything. And when the time is right, let his own words speak for themselves." "That feels manipulative." "No," she corrected gently. "Manipulation is what he's doing. See, what you're doing is protecting yourself with truth. There's a difference." She gave me her lawyer's contact information. "Just in case," she said. "What Marcus is doing might qualify as defamation and tortious interference. You have rights, but don't act emotionally. Act strategically." I hugged her. It was the first time in weeks that I felt like someone actually saw me. Over the next month, I followed Aunt Karen's advice. I didn't change my behavior. I stayed quiet at family gatherings. I let Marcus think he had won. But I was listening now, always. My phone was never far away. And Marcus, confident in his control, kept talking. I recorded him at a birthday party, bragging to a cousin about how he had set me straight professionally. I recorded a phone call where he told a mutual friend that I was going through something and needed space, effectively isolating me socially. I even recorded a conversation with my mother where she admitted, casually, that Marcus had asked her to keep him updated on my job search. She didn't see anything wrong with it. "He's just worried about you," she said. But the most damning recording came 3 weeks later. Marcus called me out of the blue. His voice was friendly, warm. "Hey, Ellie, I think we need to talk." "About what?" "About us. About the tension. I don't like how things have been." I kept my voice neutral. "Okay. I want to help you," he said. "I know I came down hard on you, but it was for your own good. You were spiraling. Someone had to pull you back. Spiraling, I repeated. Yeah. See, applying to jobs you weren't qualified for. Making reckless decisions, I had to intervene. By telling my employer I was dishonest. A pause. I told them the truth. That you weren't ready. That you needed guidance. They misinterpreted it. They said you called me unstable. I said you were going through a rough patch, he corrected smoothly. If they twisted that, that's on them. But listen, I can fix this. I have connections. I can make some calls, clean up the misunderstanding. But you need to trust me, and you need to apologize. Apologize for what? For doubting me. For making this harder than it needed to be. Publicly, to the family. Show them you understand I was trying to help. I closed my eyes. He wanted submission, proof of control. And if I do that, you'll fix things? Exactly. We'll get you back on track. Together? Why do you care so much about my career, Marcus? The question caught him off guard. What? Why does it matter to you where I work or what I do? A long silence. Then quieter. Because you're my sister. That's not it. Elena, tell me the truth. Another pause. Then his voice changed, sharper. Fine. You want the truth. You were getting too confident, too independent, and it embarrassed me. People were starting to ask why my little sister was moving up while I was stuck. You made me look bad. My heart pounded, but I kept my voice steady. So you sabotaged me to protect your ego. I reminded you where you stand, he said coldly. You're not better than me, Elena. You never have been. And watching you act like you were, it was pathetic. So yeah, I made a few calls. I told people what they needed to hear. And you know what? It worked. You're right back where you belong. Dependent. Asking me for help. He laughed then, not loud. Just a soft, satisfied exhale. You'll always need me, Ellie. That's just how it is. Okay, I said quietly. Okay, what? Okay, I understand now. He sounded pleased. Good, so we're on the same page? Yeah, Marcus, we are. I hung up. Then I sat there staring at my phone, at the recording timestamp. 9 minutes, 42 seconds. He had confessed everything, motive, method, intent, in his own words, calmly, proudly. I sent the recording to Aunt Karen. She called me back within an hour. Elena, this is it. This is everything we need. For what? For consequences. We met with her lawyer 2 days later. A woman named Patricia, mid-50s, sharp suit, sharper eyes. She listened to all 3 recordings without interrupting. When they finished, she leaned back in her chair. This is defamation, tortious interference, and possibly harassment depending on how we frame it, Patricia said. Your brother knowingly made false statements to harm your professional reputation. That's textbook. What can we do? I asked. Legally? We can send cease and desist letters, file a civil suit, pursue damages. But honestly, Elena, lawsuits take years and money. The real power you have here is exposure. I don't want to embarrass my family. You're not embarrassing anyone, Patricia corrected. Your brother embarrassed himself. You're just deciding whether to let him keep doing it. Aunt Karen touched my hand. What do you want, Elena? Really? I thought about it. I want people to know the truth. I want my reputation back. And I want him to understand that he can't control me. Patricia nodded. Then we do this carefully. No public posts, no drama. We go to the people he lied to, show them proof, and let them draw their own conclusions. We correct the record professionally. Can you handle that? I could. We started with Riverside Technologies. Patricia drafted a formal letter, attached transcripts of the recordings, and requested a review of my termination. The HR director called me personally 3 days later. Elena, I owe you an apology. We acted on false information. We'd like to discuss reinstating your offer if you're still interested. I told her I'd think about it. Next, Patricia sent letters to the other 4 companies where I suspected Marcus had interfered. 2 responded with apologies and invitations to reapply. 1 admitted they had received a concerning reference and now understood it was fraudulent. The fourth never replied, but I didn't care. 3 out of 4 was enough. Then came the hardest part, the family meeting. Aunt Karen arranged it under the guise of a neutral discussion about family communication. My parents agreed reluctantly. Marcus showed up looking annoyed. "What's this about?" he asked, dropping into a chair. Patricia, sitting calmly at the head of the table, smiled. "We're here to address some concerns about professional interference and defamation." Marcus's face shifted. "Who are you?" "A lawyer, representing Elena." He looked at me, then at my parents. "This is ridiculous." "Let's just listen," my father said, clearly uncomfortable. Patricia opened her folder. "Over the past several months, Marcus has contacted multiple employers and professional references, making false statements about Elena's character and reliability. These actions directly resulted in job loss and reputational harm." "That's not true," Marcus said quickly. "Let's find out." Patricia pressed play on the first recording. His voice, clear and unmistakable, explaining how he handled my job situation, how I needed to stay in my lane. My mother's face went pale. My father stared at the speaker. Patricia played the second recording, Marcus bragging about his credibility, his control. "This is out of context," Marcus interrupted, but his voice lacked conviction. Then the third recording played, the phone call, his confession, his laughter. "You were getting too confident, too independent." And it embarrassed me. The room was silent, except for Marcus's recorded voice. When it finished, Patricia stopped the playback. She looked at my parents. "Were you aware your son was systematically sabotaging your daughter's employment?" My father's jaw tightened. My mother looked like she might cry. Patricia turned to Marcus. "Were you aware this would cost her employment?" He didn't answer. "Marcus," Patricia said again gently, "it's a yes or no question." He exhaled sharply. "Yes." My mother made a small sound. My father closed his eyes. "Then we're clear," Patricia said. She slid a document across the table. "This is a formal cease and desist. Marcus, you will not contact any current or future employer, colleague, or professional reference of Elena's. You will not speak about her professionally to anyone outside immediate family. If you violate this, we will pursue legal action for defamation and tortious interference. Do you understand?" Marcus stared at the paper. His face was red. "You're really going to do this? Sue your own brother?" "I'm going to protect myself," I said quietly, "like you should have done for me." He looked at my parents. "Are you seriously going to let her—" "Marcus!" My father's voice was hard. "Sign it." For the first time in my life, I watched Marcus's certainty crack. He picked up the pen and signed. After the meeting, my parents stayed behind. My mother was crying softly. My father looked exhausted. "We didn't know," my mother said. "Elena, we had no idea he was—" "Yes, you did," I interrupted gently. "I told you, you just didn't believe me." She flinched. My father looked down. "I'm not angry," I continued. "But I need you to understand something. I don't need Marcus's permission to live my life. I don't need his approval. And I won't tolerate anyone, family or not, trying to control me. If you can respect that, we're fine. If you can't, I'll love you from a distance." My mother nodded, wiping her eyes. My father reached across the table and squeezed my hand once. It wasn't an apology, but it was acknowledgement. That was enough for now. 2 weeks later, Riverside Technologies called again. They had reviewed everything and wanted me to start. This time, I accepted. And on my real first day, I walked through those same glass doors, past the same receptionist, into the same conference room. But everything was different. Margaret greeted me with a genuine smile. The director shook my hand and apologized again. "We're glad to have you here, Elena." For real this time. I started work that Monday. Same town, same people. But the energy had shifted. Coworkers who had ghosted me suddenly sent friendly messages. A recruiter I thought had forgotten me reached out with another opportunity. Even the receptionist, who wouldn't meet my eyes before now, waved when I arrived. Reputation is strange. It can be destroyed quietly and rebuilt just as fast once people know the truth. Marcus, meanwhile, went silent. He stopped coming to family dinners, stopped calling. I'd see him occasionally at obligatory events, and he wouldn't look at me. The power dynamic had flipped entirely, and he couldn't handle it. I didn't chase him. I didn't demand apologies or closure. I just existed, successfully, in the space he had tried to erase me from. One evening, months later, I was cleaning out my phone and found the recordings. I listened to them one last time. Marcus's voice, so sure of himself, so certain he could control the narrative. Then I moved them to a locked folder. I didn't delete them. I never would. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I needed to remember. I needed to remember that silence is not weakness, that patience is not passivity, and that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is let someone destroy themselves with their own words. The truth is, Marcus didn't ruin my reputation with one phone call. He tried, and for a moment, he succeeded. But he underestimated something important. He thought I'd stay small, that I'd accept his version of me, that I'd beg for his approval. He didn't know I was recording, and he didn't know I'd be patient enough to let him expose himself. That's the thing about people who love control. They always overplay their hand eventually. They get comfortable, careless. They start believing their own lies. And when you're ready, when you've gathered enough truth, you don't need to fight them. You just need to step aside and let their own words do the work. I think about my brother sometimes. Wonder if he understands yet what he lost. Not just my trust, but the illusion that he could manipulate reality. That he could define me. The recordings didn't just clear my name. They taught me something more valuable than vindication. They taught me that I'm not who anyone says I am. Not my brother, not my parents, not even the people who rejected me. I'm who I choose to be, and no phone call, no lie, no sabotage can change that unless I let it. So if you're reading this and someone is trying to control your story, trying to make you smaller so they can feel bigger, remember this. Document everything. Stay calm. Let them talk. And when the time is right, let the truth speak louder than their lies. Marcus thought one phone call could erase me. He didn't know I'd been listening the whole time. And he definitely didn't know I'd become the kind of person who fights back not with anger, but with evidence, patience, and the quiet certainty that truth always wins in the end. Because it does. It just takes time.